Hey, Deb.
Hello.
Might have a quick meeting. Might just call it today. I have to cut it short too because I've got like just conflicts all day, all
Mm.
day. I was only gonna be able to do 30 minutes, but we got through a little progress in the previous week, and then we're kind of at the point where maybe start drafting like a spec here. Oop.
Well,
Uh,
that's great.
well, like a Rev 1 just for the compute stuff and the basic, the one we knew, like get the low hanging fruit, let's at least get that, and then we can use that to start pushing other work groups. So that's kind of where we're at now. Um, I can just share really quick, and then otherwise maybe we'll just end early, which is probably good because there's about 5 dozen things I need to switch over to do. Let me see here. So yeah, how's your stuff going? How's your work group going?
Well, I don't know if you know, I was on a leave of absence for a month.
Oh, okay.
So, yes.
Cool.
So nothing happened for a month, and now I'm just trying to whatever get
Regroup.
yes, and it's tough because it's the end of the year and blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
cool.
So, I mean, I guess one big change is that we we were asked to pick up the carbon intensity piece, which comes into operational carbon as well as embodied carbon. And we had only been focusing on embodied carbon.
Body.
So we have a second white paper that we need to write, but I'm not signing up for it until next year.
Got it. Cool. Okay. Hey, Shruti. Hey, Hashim. How's it going?
Hi, Donnie. Hisham, Deb.
Hi, everyone.
Hey. So I was just mentioning I have a hard conflict today at the half hour mark. And I think we kind of like are probably in the phase, both Deb and we're just talking like maybe I can start putting a graph kind of basic spec together. Um, this was the minutes from last week. I was just going to check to see. I don't think I have made progress on any of these. Let me see. Verify if their CSL attached DIMMs require any enabling. I haven't done that yet. And then nor reach out to Kevin. I guess Ruthie, you and I each took one about check with DC metrics work group on sample rate concerns. Oh, that's right. So basically, if we're going to input in there, so I got to reach out to Sammy on that. I don't know
More
unless.
like, more like sort of publicly releasing your sample rate and other context concern. Like the concern is not with the sample rate, but actually with publicly releasing all the context.
Right, right. Is this accepted externally? If not, why? Right. Yeah, it'd be good to know. Yeah, that's yeah, probably just send an email over and have him or have that work group kind of just ask, right? Maybe understand it. Um,
If you
yeah.
saw the note, and sorry, I actually just sent it maybe 5 minutes back, so you were probably in call already. But like for NVMe drives, there is a direction on power measurement already that is in the OCP NVMe spec that talks about even the microsecond window uh, of power measurement, etc. So it gives some measurement details.
You're saying in OCP spec for NVMe drives, or
Right.
where's?
Yeah, the OCP spec for NVMe drives.
Oh, okay.
I I think what that tells me is we sort of need to be aware of the other hardware spec that is from OCP, which has already touched upon power measurement or given some details about sample rate or time window or something.
Yeah, so I checked yeah, that's interesting. I checked the DC MHS spec on power, telemetry, power measurement. There was nothing in there. I pinged a few people. They said there's nothing in there. You're right. There might be, maybe there is for some of these components. So, um,
I was looking for white paper or a document from OCB about KPIs or metrics for sustainability or power management. I didn't see any, but I have seen some YouTube videos or presentation, but no official document.
Mhm. Where was Shruti? You said that was under, would it be under storage then?
No, it was, I just found it, some video presentations about metrics for data center. And it's for sustainability. For
Yeah, mine
sustain-
was specific to Shruti's NVMe comment.
Yeah, this is, I mean, yes, it is under storage, what storage project publishes. So let's see, where is the NVMe SSD latest spec published?
NVMe HDD workstream?
No, NVMe SSD.
Oh, SSD, yeah.
I think it's spec 2.5.
NVMe Cloud SSD specification V1.0A. This one?
I guess this is 1.0, which is not the latest version, but maybe it's there in this also. Can you?
Power consumption measurement methodology?
Yeah, probably that is the section that, at least in the latest spec, that is the section under which it says.
Yeah, let me see here. Maximum average power consumption for a workload shall not exceed the maximum. Okay, so power consumption.
So it sort of talks about, if you see the second point, it talks about in case of peak power, like in what window that peak power is being measured, what's the sample rate.
But it's right, but I think this is only for conformance to their like specified like max power, right? Not necessarily for telemetry.
Right, but what I was sort of wondering is that if there is some sample rate that is used over here,
Got it. Yeah.
Maybe we want to make it easy and keep the same sample rate for those devices, or something on those lines.
Yeah, I think though these are referring more to sample rates associated with internal protection mechanisms to make sure that the power delivery path can be designed and then not violated, like so far as decoupling capacitors and things like that.
Sure. Which would essentially mean they are likely to have some circuitry doing sample measurement at that rate.
But this is not how they, I don't think this is, unless it's maybe further in the spec, right? Is this the part you were talking about, or?
This is one, well, I was right now looking at the second point. Which is,
this one.
Yeah, which is talking about with a sample rate of 4 times better.
Right, but again, I think this is more for like 100 microseconds is pretty fast sample rate, or 4 microseconds or better. I think this is more about like internal protection mechanism exceeding a limit versus like this isn't the rate, like, and I think this would be a very fast rate to ask to report out on a bus, out on the system management bus.
Okay, maybe we keep a multiple of that. So where I'm going is, if we are telling them a particular sample rate, etc., they have to make sure their circuitry can do that.
For sure, yeah. If we start specifying, that's going to be the hard part. When we put a sample rate in our spec, and Jeff was saying like, yeah, then what we can do is take it to manageability, and then from there, like, we start reaching out to the different hardware work groups,
Right.
and see if anybody balks, right? Like,
I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of folks will block because putting extra circuitry is work for them. So, like, one thing that we could do is, they don't need to report out on the bus at this rate, but this tells me that they have some kind of monitoring at this rate, which is maybe not reported. So, I don't know if you want to be mindful of, using a multiple of that, or something that would make it easier for the circuitry implementation like this.
I missed part of that. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying, okay, maybe I'll start over. I don't know what part you missed. So, what I'm trying to say is, surely when we are giving, like, certain sample rate, etc., and first of all, power telemetry has to be maybe introduced in some devices. And plus, if we are telling particular sample rate, it's circuitry work for all of them. So certainly there would be some concern with that added work. So what is one thing that we could be mindful of is, if they have internal monitoring at, a particular rate according to an existing spec,
Right.
it need not be reported on the bus at that rate, but maybe we keep reporting as a multiple of that, so
Right.
that they are able to maybe, leverage that circuitry that they are likely to have.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. We want to, like, if it's like you said, obviously we couldn't ask for a sample rate faster than their internal mechanisms, and like you said, something that's easy for them to extract upward. That makes sense. Some of these though are going to be like, some of these, for instance, could be like also not continuously sampled, but this one looks like in filming window with the sample rate of 2 milliseconds or better, which I think we were looking
That looks
for.
like continuously sampled because it has to do with the average power.
Which one you?
Yeah, the one that you were pointing to, I think that looks like continuously because they're going to average power over there.
Yeah. The sample rate. Right. This is, yeah, I kind of look at this as like their spec compliance, not exceed the maximum average power as mentioned in a window. And so this is a little bit like a turbo-like thing, right? So the average is going to be over 500 milliseconds, and then, like you said, sample rate of 2 milliseconds. So that would be internally complying. And then, yeah, if we're asking for a 100 millisecond sample rate, that's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
Cool. I wonder if they have anything else. Let me look here. Power levels. I think that's
So,
it.
of measurement, I didn't see anything else.
Yeah, I think that was the only thing up front on measurement, on power.
Yeah.
Cool. No, that's cool. I'm glad you found one like that. Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. Eventually we're going to be influencing their stuff, right? It'll go into there.
Right. I was even thinking that if we have the particular attributes that we want to specify, like for example, the sample rate is one of the attributes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we should fix on the values that we need for the attributes actually in conjunction with those particular groups? Like for example, if it is NVMe SSDs, then we sort of need to talk to the folks who work on the NVMe SSD spec in order to decide what is the rate that would be good.
Well, I think the way I'd like to progress is like we kind of write down what we wrote down last time, right? Propose as a draft spec, and then shop around the 100 milliseconds and ask if anybody, if this isn't feasible, then let's understand why.
I'd just like to jump in with another perspective on this, which is that when you're talking about energy coming through the grid to a data center, that is dealt with on an hourly basis. Hence, it's called like the kilowatt hour, right? Or the gigawatt hour, etc. And then all of the carbon intensity, likewise, at the finest granularity it's dealt with, or anybody's talking about dealing with it, is hourly. So from the point of view of reporting carbon intensity of power, hourly is fine. So
yeah, this one we were starting with the compute server level and trying to put out what we thought would be reasonable sampling rates based on like data center operators kind of checking on system status, optimizing for things, shifting workloads, that kind of granularity. And kind of this is roughly what's done today right now. I think most kind of run in this 10 to 100 millisecond range for CPU memory. There could be a long tail, like Shruti mentions, of some other devices where when we ask this, they might be, whoa, that's really hard. We haven't thought about it, or, they're not even reporting at all yet. But I think for most components, this probably should go through pretty easily. The bus can handle it, BMC can handle it. Seems useful, and over time we might push on this, but I think as an initial expectation, this seems about right.
Yeah, for sure. I was just pointing out that from a climate point of view, this
Right.
is many more orders of precision than is needed. That's
Definitely.
all.
Cool.
So, if somebody that, if this is a no can do for somebody,
Yep.
it's too much from a climate point of view that, it's not gonna make us fall over.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah, sample rate, we need to be, essentially it means we need to be flexible while speaking to them.
Need to be flexible and as we get feedback.
Yeah, as we get feedback and decide the sample rate for the different type of devices.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would just add, I mean, it's a small adder, but the collection and storage of telemetry does add to your data center carbon footprint. So too much is not good. So that's another point of view.
Yeah, and I think the definition of what needs to get collected and stored is really going to be the definition of what let me just say that storage of this telemetry I think falls in another spec, like might be better suited for either isn't there an orchestration spec?
Within sustainability, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
So I thought there was something on load balancer orchestration kind of software within OCP.
Like Kubernetes?
No, I don't know specific to that, but just something in and around that, like orchestration layer, load balancing, that kind of stuff. Like I don't know if there is one for.
So see, with respect to where telemetry is stored, now each spec, like the NVMe SSD I was talking about, it actually addresses where are the telemetry, pages and what kind of telemetry is stored in page 1, page 2, data page 1, data page 2, etc. So it's very likely that those hardware specs actually address where are the telemetry regions, and they can probably add it if and when they agree to add it.
You're right, but for us though, we're being clear that it's put out on the power management bus. Maybe we should call that out too. We should probably describe it, right? Because that is and that'll match up with like some of the other manageability parts of OCP. So there may be other telemetry that devices store and stuff, but I think this one we should probably note that. So let me kind of put that here. So the spec should specify that the scope relates to that telemetry put out on the PM bus. And
sorry, maybe I'm trying to understand. So I was actually thinking that you're talking about storing that in telemetry, but you are not talking about storing it at all.
Nope.
On what bus? Like, let's, for example, take that same NVMe SSD. On what bus are you imagining that will be available?
On the power management or system management bus that the BMC is polling, and that redfish that the redfish profile applies to.
So essentially, it has to be sort of sent out as a packet on PCIe.
Stand out as a packet on what?
On PCIe interface wise.
TCI? I'm not
No,
familiar.
PCIe.
No, I think she's saying PCI.
PCI. So the bus that we're talking about is an I2C, I3C bus.
Exactly.
That the BMC is basically, polling and using and aggregating. So when somebody wants to access data, wants to access this today, what they do is they basically hit the IP address for the BMC and use the Redfish protocol to pull out the associated telemetry.
Okay, so we are basically specing that it be put out on the I3C bus
Yep.
of that device.
Yep, exactly. That basically this spec is the scope of this spec is what power telemetry at a compute server is put out on that bus so that we can
Okay. Well,
do all the other things. But yeah,
I thought we were talking the other side of the BMC, but you're talking between the server and the BMC.
yeah, on the server that the BMC accesses and that the
Mhm.
BMC provides via the Redfish in the format described in the Redfish protocol.
Okay.
so I'll just add one thing to Deb's point, right? What she was saying that it does add carbon. Well, it technically adds carbon not just to store the data, but also the measurement circuitry that they put will add carbon. But then, yeah, that ties back to, us saying that if they have some particular circuitry or sampling rate or something, we should look to leverage that.
I mean, I think what's implicit in us saying what needs to get measured and how often and how accurate, we're basically saying like this is the level of telemetry that we think has the right cost benefit ratio to the amount of cost it takes to measure it.
Right. I'm just saying that when Deb was saying carbon is added, that's not just the telemetry, it's also the measurement circuitry. You're
Exactly.
essentially adding.
Right.
Well, I was more talking just, how often this information crosses various buses. Now, now I understand the scope here is just that the little bus going to the BMC. I was more thinking, how often it goes out in Redfish and then where, from the Redfish where it is stored and for how long. Right. And so, but that's out of scope for this
Yeah,
discussion.
you're thinking of like using this telemetry. How does somebody use it? And
Exactly. And
sort of
I do think that the use of it, like I said earlier, it would be at the hourly basis for a server.
Mhm. Is that what's described in the DC metrics work group like spec? Is that where it's heading? As in like you will need to report your DC metric at an hourly basis or?
I don't know.
No, they have not finalized on the sample rate yet. But so here's the thing with the hourly. I know the grid emission factor is right now, I guess, published at hourly basis. But essentially in that hour, the power utilization could have fluctuated quite a bit. So we do need a good average. And then we can apply the grid emission factor to that.
Yes, you need to average across the hour. But
Yeah.
that's all that you would want to store would be the hourly.
Yes, I agree to that.
Hourly power, and then you can take it from there. But it sounds like all of that is out of scope for this discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we'll want to make sure that this is sufficient, but I'm not too worried about that. Given everything you just said, right? I think it's all going to kind of flow. Okay. That was a good one. Those are some good things. I think it's good to kind of align on how we think this will progress. Is there any?
Oh, never mind. No, I was going to say, just for reference, you also want to put a link to that spec where you said that there's the NVMe spec where you referenced to the power measurement sample rate, just for the meeting minutes.
I just cut out for me for a sec. Sorry. What was it about sample rate that you wanted to know?
No, I was saying in your point one where you refer to the OCP spec and there is a sample rate, if you can also put the link.
Oh, to the one I was just,
Yeah.
the one I just pulled up a second ago. Yeah.
Yes.
That was this guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me do that. And then I can even just take a quick screenshot on hopefully I can find this again really quick. Cut to it, power consumption methodology. this is kind of the example we were all looking at, right? Okay, oops. Okay, I actually have to cross over. I do have another urgent meeting that I had to call into today. Did you guys want to hang on for a bit longer, or otherwise we could just reconvene after the Thanksgiving holiday here?
I would like to go as well.
You have to drop too. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a busy week before the holiday week for sure.
I agree. Yep.
Okay. All right, everybody. Well, I won't see you guys next week, so have a good break.
Yes, happy holidays.
Happy
Yeah.
holidays, folks.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.